Now let me set you up on Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
Why do you think he fell through the first round last night?
I think that when you look at any player, but specifically a quarterback, you've got to weigh, any perceived baggage that they're bringing against their talent level. And here's the hard part for Shedeur. He's not his dad. And yet he brings that same energy to the table. Now, no one defends that family, that school, and that player more than me. And I'll be one of the first to admit that, And does that make me biased? Maybe. I don't know. But he's not generational as a player, And trust me, my phone will buzz after this. There's no doubt about that. But he holds the ball a little bit too long. There still needs to be some development. So when a player like that is meeting with teams and there needs to be growth, then what they want to see is a willingness to be taught. And if they don't see that and they see a guy that just thinks that he's ready to be generational and listen, I'm good right now, I don't need coaching, I think that it cools teams off on that. Now, I'm not suggesting that's exactly what happened, but if you believe some of these unnamed sources, maybe that was the tone set in some of these meetings. Shedeur is a really good player. I'm just here to tell you, he's a very good player. Are there times when he drifts? Yes. Does he have the strongest arm in the draft? No. Does he hold the ball too long at times? Yes. But man, the kid is tough as nails. He's hyper accurate. I talk with Kurt Warner about this all the time. I actually think, and this is one of those like hot take type of things, I think arm strength is overrated. We've had great quarterbacks, all-time greats, with very average arms. Drew Brees, he wasn't throwing fastballs around the field. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl throwing duck hunt ducks in Super Bowl 50. And granted, there was surgeries involved with that, with the neck and everything along those lines, but he certainly wasn't even close to what he was early in his career. So I don't buy into this idea of like, well, his arm is not strong enough. Yeah, it is. Look at where the ball, I'm a big believer in this, is the ball on time and on target. And with him, it usually is. And it's usually in a shoebox in terms of accuracy. I do think he's going to succeed. And then I said this at the end of the night, and I think that the draft has become such a big thing that I've got one more point after this, but the draft has become such a big thing that college players and families view it so much as a finish line. And it's just the starting line.
No doubt.
And at the end of the night last night, I said, if you remember, I know it was after we had gone back and we were on the other show. And I said, if I'm Deion Sanders, I'm a father. And remember, these are humans. This is a father and a son at the end of the day. I'm going to walk into my son's room or wherever he is, and I'm going to hand him a list of names. And those names are going to be, Brady, Breeze, Foles, Rodgers, Hurts, all these guys that have won Super Bowls, gotten to their second and third and fourth contracts, and not just contracts, mega contracts.
Russ
was on that list that I said, exactly right. And I would hand him that list, and I'd be like, that's the list you want to be on. It didn't matter what happened tonight. All of these guys, their name was called in a spot where they didn't want their name to be called. Maybe not location, but certainly in terms of the number next to their draft pick. And yet they ended up with confetti falling down on them. And a lot of those guys are going to end up with gold jackets. That's the goal. The draft is not the goal, guys. Hey, college players out there, the draft is not the goal. It's a starting line. That's great. And this is all wonderful. But it matters what you do after that. And that would be my communication point. And then the last thing that I would say is I think that college football and our lack of structure in our sport has done a massive disservice to these players.
How so?
because most of them are more transactional than they are football. There's more so than ever before. We have guys that love being football players and what comes along with that, and the transactions that come along with that, and the brand they're trying to build, rather than guys that just love football. And to be great in the NFL, you better love ball, because it's a tough road. And I think college football does a disservice, because now all these guys are concerned about are their brands, their name equity, their NIL deal, where they're going to do that. We've got guys that have played. There was a guy drafted in the first round, and I don't want to call him out by name because it sounds like I'm ripping on him, but I'm not. It's just a truth. There was a guy drafted last night that went to 6 schools in 6.5, 7 years, dating back to his high school and college years. Well, you can't do that in the NFL, man. So I think we do a disservice in college football with our lack of structure.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.